A vast, green ocean stretches across South America, where life never stands still for even a single moment. In this place, the air is thick with moisture. Dark clouds roll endlessly overhead, and thunder crashes through the canopy like the heartbeat of an ancient world that has never truly fallen silent. Beneath that dense roof of forest, every leaf quietly absorbs light. Every root pushes deep into the earth, and together they form a colossal living engine that helps regulate the climate of the entire planet. This is the Amazon, the largest rainforest on Earth, a place that sustains countless forms of life, protects immense rivers, and holds an essential part of the world's breath. But the same place that gives life also operates by some of the harshest rules in nature. Rain can nourish the forest into abundance, yet storms can still bring down giant trees, while floods and predators remind every creature that survival here has never been easy. The Amazon is not just a forest. It is a wild, brutal world that is almost impossible to conquer. The Amazon stretches across more than 2 million square miles of South America, like a colossal living body trembling beneath the pulse of endless storms. For 50 million years, this deep green maze has quietly filtered the atmosphere, pulled carbon from the sky, and returned oxygen to sustain life across the planet. Here, every canopy is a solar panel, silently storing energy, and every root system is a lung driven deep into wet soil to keep that machine running without pause. In the heavy heat, in the veil of water mist, and in the rolling thunder of rainforest rain, the Amazon is not just a forest, but one of the most powerful ecosystems on Earth. And inside that green body, nearly 1/10 of all species humanity has ever known are still living, hunting, decomposing, and being reborn in a cycle that never rests. The rainy season in the Amazon is not just a stretch of long-lasting thunderstorms, but the beginning of one of the most spectacular ecological cycles on Earth. Here, the trees create their own flying rivers by releasing 20 billion tons of water vapor every day, enough to bring rain to an entire continent. When the water rises as high as about 49 feet, the whole forest turns into a vast green ocean, where fish can swim and hunt right among the crowns of ancient trees. These rains also carry a gift of phosphorus-rich dust from the distant Sahara Desert, blown across the ocean to restore nutrients to the forest soil. This is also the noisiest time of the year in the Amazon, with a symphony bursting out from millions of frogs and birds entering their breeding season. It can be said that rain is the vital lifeblood that turns the Amazon into a living system able to regulate and nourish itself with remarkable precision. The jaguar is the real dark shadow of the Amazon, a predator that gives its prey almost no chance to understand what just happened. It can stand motionless for hours among broken patches of sunlight beneath the canopy, then explode forward in a moment so brief that death arrives before any reaction. Unlike tigers or lions, which usually kill by suffocation, the jaguar bites straight into the skull or the temporal bone, piercing bone with one of the strongest bite forces among all big cats. Its golden coat covered in rosettes is not meant to display beauty, but to dissolve its body into the fragments of light and shadow in the rainforest. And while many big cats avoid water, the jaguar uses rivers as hunting routes, silently swimming across currents to reach some of the heaviest prey in its world, including caiman crocodilians. It lives alone for almost its entire life, controls territory that can stretch across as much as 39 square miles, and leaves behind body scent and deep claw marks on tree trunks the way the Amazon marks its own power. In the dark air beneath the dense canopy of the Amazon, the harpy eagle rules the sky like a predator with no natural enemy except humans. Even as a giant bird, it can still glide through thick forest canopies with almost no sound because of its specialized wing feather structure. The most terrifying weapon of the harpy is its rear talon, which can reach about 5 inches in length, as large as, or even larger, than the claws of a North American grizzly bear, and strong enough to pierce a prey's skull in an instant. Unlike most eagles that usually hunt fish or reptiles, the harpy focuses on tree-dwelling mammals, such as sloths and monkeys. When it attacks, it dives at about 50 miles per hour, turning the strike into an impact powerful enough to shock and almost instantly paralyze its prey. The Potaro River forces all of its water over a single cliff and sends it plunging straight into the deep abyss below, creating the fierce, Kayatur Falls. The sound of the water roars across the surrounding forest, while white mist rises non-stop and makes this place seem as if it is always wrapped in haze. Right along the cliff edge, green moss and tiny carnivorous plants still cling to life, forming an unusual ecosystem in an environment of extreme harshness. The Patamona people also tell that Chief Kai once paddled his canoe over the falls to bring peace to his tribe, giving this place an added sacred meaning. Between the towering rock walls, the thick mist, and the sound that never stops echoing back, Kayatur appears like a wild corner that nature has kept entirely for itself. On branches that barely move within the dark and humid canopy of the Amazon, the sloth lives as if movement was never something it truly needed. Its thick and slow-moving coat does not only cover its body, but also supports a tiny garden of algae, fungi, and moth species found only with sloths. Even though that fur is filled with bacteria and parasites, the sloth is rarely affected by wound infections, and scientists are now studying the fungi in its coat to search for new antibiotics. Nearly its entire life unfolds in the trees, where slowness becomes a strategy that helps it disappear into moss, shadow, and leaves. But once a week, this animal that almost never needs to leave the canopy still has to climb down to the ground to relieve itself, and this is also when it becomes most vulnerable to attack, with nearly half of its deaths happening during that brief journey. That waste returns nutrients to the soil and helps feed the ancient trees the sloth lives on. Unlike the almost complete silence of the sloth, the Amazon canopy shakes each early morning with the violent roar of howler monkeys. The whole troop calls out together not to attract mates, but to divide territory from a distance, helping different groups avoid direct confrontation. At close range, that sound is powerful enough to make human ears ache and is often considered the loudest biological call on land, close to the sound of a jet engine taking off or a gunshot fired right beside the ear. But that roar is also a display of strength, because males with deeper and louder calls often have smaller testicles, showing that they rely more on sound to hold status than on other forms of reproductive competition. Even though they disturb the forest at the start of the day, they spend most of the remaining time almost motionless in the trees. Their black or dark red fur also blends into the shadows of the old forest, making them harder for predators like jaguars to detect. In the dark and humid world of the Amazon, color is not the ornament of life, but a kind of currency used to warn, attract, deceive, and survive. Every shade has its own purpose. Here, blazing red is the code of seduction and connection across the vast green ocean. Green is the ghost of invisibility, helping life dissolve into the script of leaves to hunt in silence. Yellow, meanwhile, is the royal power of warning, an extreme beauty, carrying the hard message of poison and death. This is proof of a survival strategy, where camouflage is the key to enduring and hunting effectively. Beneath the ancient canopy of the Amazon rainforest, the toucan appears like a creature shaped by a magician, with its enormous bill carrying three dominant colors: vivid green, blazing orange, and deep red, woven together in a mesmerizing display. Although it looks as dazzling as a work of art, this bill is actually an ultralight biological robot arm with a strong honeycomb structure that allows the bird to pick berries from the furthest tips of branches that no other animal can reach. It is not just a feeding tool, because this three-colored bill also works as an advanced temperature control system that helps the bird release excess heat in the sweltering heat of the tropics. Even more astonishing, that bulky weapon is delicate enough to peel tiny seeds or grip slippery prey tightly, with the sharp serrations running along the sides of the bill. Beneath that giant world of vegetation, the cacao tree grows in the relative shade of the Amazon rainforest. It drives a taproot deep into the ground, but its horizontal roots are the more important tool, quietly spreading close to the surface to draw nutrients from the decaying leaf layers of taller trees above. The cacao fruit has a thick, hard, woody shell, and inside are seeds wrapped in a sticky white pulp with a sweet-sour taste, completely opposite to the familiar bitterness of the bean itself. Cacao flowers also do not depend on bees or butterflies, but are pollinated almost entirely by tiny biting midges. Without these anonymous insects, cacao trees would not produce fruit normally, and the human chocolate supply chain would also be heavily affected. Since Aztec times, cacao beans were valued more than gold and silver. People once used cacao beans as money, with 10 beans enough to trade for a rabbit and 100 beans enough to trade for a slave. Beneath the dark and humid canopy of the Amazon, the tepa lives like an animal that seems to trust only darkness and silence. Even with its large body, it is extremely shy, so much so that even a small sound in the forest is enough to make it instantly rush into thick brush or slip into the river to hide. Darkness and water become a natural shield, helping this animal avoid the watching eyes of predators inside the living machine of the rainforest that never stops moving. But that hidden life is exactly what turns the tapir into one of the most important seed spreaders in the Amazon. Each time it eats fruit and moves across mud, riverbanks, and empty trails, it carries seeds to other places and unintentionally opens the way for new plants to grow. When dawn arrives and that heavy silhouette fades into the mist, what remains is not only silence, but an entire corridor of life quietly beginning from those fearful footsteps. Amid the layers of rotting leaves in the Amazon, there exists a graveyard of forgotten flowers where nature displays its strangest and most mesmerizing forms. Stepping into this dreamlike realm, you will encounter the passion flower with its bizarre reproductive structure looking like a time machine powered by the gears of ancient gods. Right beside it, Heliconia burns like tiers of blazing red parrot beaks, filled with rainwater that turns them into tiny swimming pools for rainforest frogs to shelter in. Strangely enough, the hot lips flower appears with full, sensual red lips, a deeply eerie visual trap designed only to hide the tiny, foul-smelling flowers about to bloom in faith. That romance vanishes instantly when you face Rafflesia, a monster with no roots and no leaves, releasing the thick stench of rotting flesh that makes the air feel like an insect graveyard. In a dark, hidden corner, the ghost orchid appears with a haunting presence, like a pure white phantom floating in mid-air, because its entire body has rejected chlorophyll and the existence of leaves. And the Dracula orchid closes this strange garden with a monkey-like face hidden inside its dark petals, like a reminder that in the Amazon, beauty is often only the first layer of something far more bizarre. Deep beneath the rotting leaves and damp soil of the Amazon, the bullet ant exists like a nightmare that no creature dares to underestimate. Although its body is not even as long as a finger joint, it delivers a sting that unleashes pain as violent as electricity running through the entire body, enough to turn a tiny ant into a symbol of fear in the rainforest. Inside the nest, that empire operates under strict discipline, with the queen at the center, worker ants constantly patrolling, and soldier ants always ready to charge into battle to defend the whole colony. What makes it even more remarkable is that for the Satere Mawe people, the bullet ant is not only pain, but also a symbol of willpower. In their coming-of-age ritual, young men must place their hands into gloves filled with bullet ants and endure repeated stings for at least 10 minutes. The ritual must be repeated many times as a way of proving that the human spirit can still stand firm against one of the most intense pains nature has ever created. If the bullet ant represents raw power and absolute terror, then the leafcutter ant shows that the Amazon also runs on discipline and astonishingly precise design. Instead of using venom to dominate, they operate like a gigantic industrial machine with tiny strongmen able to carry pieces of leaves weighing 50 times their own body weight. But they do not eat the leaves because they use them to feed symbiotic fungus gardens deep inside the nest, where the entire colony gets its main source of life. Beneath the ground, a leaf-cutter ant nest functions like a miniature city, with ventilation and temperature control systems stable enough to keep the fungus growing. Inside that empire, soldier ants guard the trails with extremely powerful jaws, while smaller worker ants focus on cleaning to stop disease from destroying the whole system. For more than 50 million years, leafcutter ants have turned ordinary leaves into a source of life through an almost perfect social order. Beneath the meeting currents of the meeting of waters, the Boto moves like a quiet pink shadow between the muddy world of sediment and the dark flow of the Amazon. Unlike many ocean dolphins that usually travel in large pods, the Boto often lives alone or in small pairs, unless there is an abundance of food. They are also not born pink, but begin life as grey and gradually change as they grow older because their skin wears down, their blood vessels become more visible, and their bodies stay active. To rest while still being able to rise to the surface for air, the Boto lets one half of its brain sleep while the other half remains awake. Its teeth are also highly unusual because the front teeth are used to grip prey, while the back teeth are used to crush the hard shells of crabs or turtles. And even though it lives in one of the most mysterious river systems on Earth, the Boto is very curious and often swims close to local boats to observe or play. But the true heart of this forest is the Amazon River, a colossal current that carries water and nutrients to feed every living layer of a green body stretched across South America. Born from melting ice in the Andes, the Amazon begins a journey of about 4,400 miles before reaching the Atlantic Ocean. Every second, the Amazon pours about 7,380,000 cubic feet of water into the Atlantic, with such force that even if you combine the flow of the next 7 largest rivers on Earth, they still cannot surpass it alone. This river also carries about 1/5 of all the fresh water that rivers send into the world's oceans, turning it into the largest circulatory system on the planet. Near the city of Manaus, Brazil, there is a phenomenon called the Meeting of Waters. Here, the coffee-black Rio Negro and the sand-brown Rio Solimões run side by side for nearly 4 miles without mixing together. From above, that meeting point appears like a giant dividing line cutting across the heart of the Amazon rainforest. The intelligence of the Great Forest does not lie in a single creature, but in the invisible bonds that connect a collective being. Among the layers of the Amazon canopy, the marmoset embodies pure cooperation with a family structure centered around one dominant pair. Although only this pair reproduces, every member from the father to the older siblings, shares the responsibility of raising the twins equally. Life-risking leaps and careful grooming become valuable lessons of survival, binding the old and the young into one unified whole. When they find a source of food, the call to their group rises even before the first bite reaches the mouth, proving that connection matters more than a full stomach. Not living only for itself, this tiny primate also becomes the heartbeat of the rainforest by spreading seeds and sustaining the eternal balance of the ecosystem. High in the upper layers of the tropical rainforest canopy, 18 species of macaws appear like brilliant kings ruling the blue sky above. They possess a steel bill with a crushing force powerful enough to rival that of a large crocodile, strong enough to crack open stone-hard seeds that humans would need a hammer to break. Even more remarkably, these parrots have the unusual habit of gathering at clay cliffs to eat clay as a natural antidote after feeding on toxic forest fruits. Macaws are not only powerful, but also among the most romantic creatures in the wild, forming strong, one-mate-for-life bonds and flying side by side for their entire lives. In communities of up to 30 individuals, they maintain a complex social network through loud calls that warn of danger and keep them connected across long distances. Imagine a giant maze of 400 lush green islands floating gently across the dark waters of the Rio Negro, black as a cup of strong coffee. Here, you can paddle through flooded forests, where ancient tree trunks have learned to breathe underwater for months at a time. Even more extraordinary, this black water rich in tannins acts like a natural shield that prevents mosquitoes from surviving, bringing an almost absolute stillness to the great forest. In that mysterious world, rare pink river dolphins sometimes rise above the surface like spirits of the river welcoming you. When the dry water season arrives, the entire archipelago suddenly transforms into a paradise, with stretches of fine, white sand appearing in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. This is not just a national park, but a living work of art, shaped by nature, where the boundary between land and water is completely erased. High in the upper layers of the Amazon forest, white-faced Saki appears like a dark figure wearing a mask. Its most unusual trait lies in its extreme physical difference, with the male carrying jet black fur that contrasts completely with a pale white face like a mask, while the female wears a muted gray-brown coat that helps her blend into the forest more easily. It is often called a flying monkey because it can launch itself from a standing position and leap as far as 33 feet across the high canopy without any running start, a record-like display of movement in the primate world. Instead of being noisy, like many other monkeys, they choose a quiet way of life, like shadows, and remain deeply loyal to a one mate for life bond. Most remarkably, this species has a steel-like digestive system and teeth as powerful as bolt cutters, allowing it to eat hard seeds filled with toxins that other animals avoid, giving it a distinct and proud survival niche in a harsh natural world. If there had to be a superhero in the world of cats, the Margay would surely take the top position for agility. Its appearance is marked by a striking coat covered with dark rosettes over a golden-brown background. The Margay is not only an excellent ambush predator, but what truly sets it apart is its extraordinary agility. This cat has a unique trait that cannot be found in any other feline because it can rotate its ankles a full 180 degrees. This remarkable feature allows it to run head first down a tree like a squirrel. Hidden beneath the dark cover of the forest canopy, this intelligent cat is a formidable predator with a varied diet that ranges from small mammals and birds to reptiles. Today, the beauty and uniqueness of the Margay are facing a major challenge. Deforestation is quietly destroying and fragmenting its precious habitat, causing Margay numbers to decline over time. Once believed to be an untouched wilderness with no human presence, the Amazon was in fact home to thriving civilizations whose population may once have reached into the millions. Thanks to LiDAR laser technology, scientists have peeled back the forest canopy and revealed an entire network of ancient garden cities connected by remarkably straight-planned roads. These inhabitants were not only hunters, but also gifted agricultural engineers who created the highly fertile black soil known as terra preta, which can regenerate itself even after centuries. They also left behind enormous geoglyphs with astonishingly precise shapes, pointing to a sophisticated system of belief and deep astronomical knowledge. Instead of destroying nature, ancient Amazonian peoples transformed the rainforest into vast orchards, creating a lasting ecological legacy that we still benefit from today. These discoveries are completely rewriting history, turning the Amazon from a mysterious green void into a proud, forgotten urban wonder. Beneath the flooded plains, shaped by the rise and fall of the river, the green anaconda moves like a living current. With a massive weight of more than 550 pounds, it does not need venom because it brings down prey with a deadly constriction strong enough to detect the exact heartbeat of its victim. The placement of its eyes and nostrils on top of its head turns this snake, which can grow to nearly 30 feet long, into a perfect submarine that stays almost completely hidden beneath the water while waiting for the right moment to ambush. Instead of laying eggs, it gives birth to live young, allowing these tiny killers to survive on their own immediately in the harsh Amazon. Stranger still is the behavior known as the breeding ball, where dozens of males wrap tightly around a single female for weeks as they compete for the right to mate. Even as a top predator, it only needs to eat a few times each year to maintain its durable existence across many decades. If there were ever a vote for the title of Peace Ambassador in the animal kingdom, the capybara would almost certainly take first place. They are famous for being so friendly that they willingly allow other animals, such as birds, monkeys, and even small caimans, to sit on their backs without any reaction at all. But behind that gentle appearance lies a very practical survival mechanism, as capybaras eat their own droppings in the morning to reabsorb the bacteria their digestive system needs. Between their toes are thin membranes that help those heavy bodies move into the water with ease, swimming faster and more steadily than their clumsy appearance on land would suggest. When they sense danger, capybaras do not roar or attack, but instead let out loud barks like an alarm signal going off through the group. And if danger comes with no path left to escape, they will dive deep into the river and can even fall asleep beneath patches of aquatic plants, hiding there until the threat moves away. In the wet grasslands and forest edges of the Amazon, giant anteaters look like a creature assembled from very unusual parts. Its long snout and tongue, measuring about 2 feet, help it sweep up as many as 30,000 ants and termites each day, even though it has no teeth at all. To protect the sharp claws it uses to tear open nests, it walks on its knuckles, creating a slow, heavy, but very distinctive gait. When it rests, its large tail covered in thick fur spreads out like a blanket that helps keep it warm and blend into the grass. And during the first year of life, the young often ride on their mother's back as if they were part of that coat, turning maternal care into a living camouflage layer inside the biological machine called the Amazon. Across the vast wetlands of South America, the Jabiru stork appears as a giant bird with a broad wingspan and a striking red throat pouch beneath its neck. The strangest trait of this bird is its habit of defecating directly onto its own legs to cool its body through the evaporation of waste. Because it has no vocal cords, it communicates by rapidly clattering its bill, creating sharp sounds like a typewriter echoing across the open landscape. The Jabiru is also a tireless architect, building enormous nests up to about 7 feet wide and using them continuously for decades. Most remarkably, the Jabiru is a true wetland predator with a lightning-fast strike capable of swallowing young caimans or venomous snakes whole, turning every prey animal into a brutal feast. When the rainy season ends, the tropical rainforest comes alive with the appearance of the deadly Jules, known as poison dart frog. From bright blue to vivid yellow, every shade on their bodies serves as a clear warning that even a single touch can threaten the nervous system. Though no bigger than a finger, one adult golden frog can carry enough toxin to kill up to 20,000 mice, making it one of the most dangerous vertebrates in the world. Next comes the mysterious blue frog, marked with unique black spots like fingerprints, famous for being solitary and extremely aggressive when defending its territory. No less striking is the red frog, with its blazing body and blue legs, a master climber that carries its young across treetops rising dozens of meters above the ground. What makes them even more unusual is that this toxin is not produced entirely by their own bodies, but comes from the specialized insects in their natural environment that they consume. Because of that, when they are kept in captivity and lose access to that food source, many poison dart frogs gradually lose their ability to produce toxin as well. If there were an award for the best-dressed nightmare killer, assassin bugs would almost certainly take first place by wearing an entire backpack made from the dried corpses of its victims on its back as camouflage. Instead of chewing its prey, it uses a needle-sharp proboscis to inject enzymes that liquefy the victim's insides, then calmly drinks the result like a rich smoothie. These tiny ninjas are smart enough to pluck at spider webs to deceive the owner, making the poor spider think it has found an easy meal when in fact it is walking straight into death. Even with such a terrifying title, they also act as silent bodyguards in gardens by neatly wiping out plant-destroying pests. However, be careful not to let them kiss your lips while you sleep, because that is how some species secretly spread dangerous diseases to humans. This pathogen can quietly hide inside your body for decades, then suddenly kill you on the spot before any medicine has a chance to save you. Deep in the wet, mist-covered cloud forests of South America, there exists a creature that seems to have stepped out of a science fiction film, with a body as transparent as a living crystal. With just a slight lift of a leaf, you can be stunned to see this frog's heart beating rapidly and its digestive system working right beneath the sea through skin of its belly. To survive, it has mastered an extraordinary form of invisibility by hiding nearly all of its red blood cells inside its liver while it sleeps, turning itself into a ghost-like shape before the eyes of predators. And despite that fragile appearance, these glass frog fathers are real fighters, ready to throw sharp karate kicks to knock wasps away and defend their clusters of eggs. The emerald tree boa of the Amazon basin is one of the most dazzling and unusual biological masterpieces in the tropical rainforest. The most fascinating detail lies in its dramatic transformation, because newborn individuals often appear in brick red or brilliant orange before gradually changing into a noble emerald green as adults. This snake has front teeth that are record-breaking for its body size, allowing it to pierce through the thick feathers of birds, even while hanging in midair. Around its lips, is a row of highly sensitive, heat-sensing pits. This feature allows it to detect the infrared image of prey in the darkness of night. It is one of the most patient hunters in the rainforest and can remain tightly coiled without moving for weeks on a single branch. Its tail has exceptional gripping power and works like a fifth arm, helping it hold its body firmly in place when it strikes with lightning speed. Life along the Amazon River is an incredibly fascinating world where people and nature become one. Since ancient times, their ancestors were highly skilled in creating a kind of super fertile black soil for farming in the middle of the rainforest. Today, more than 30 million people here live entirely by the rhythm of the water. They build tall, stilt houses to escape floods, treat boats like their legs, and memorize thousands of medicinal plants to heal illness without needing to go to a hospital. Culturally, they have truly one-of-a-kind customs, such as using forest fruit to paint their bodies for beauty or carrying out spiritual rituals with herbal tea. Some tribes even still choose to live in isolation to this day, without using electricity or the internet at all. No matter how the modern world changes, the people of the Amazon still preserve the identity of warriors who protect the green forest. Manaus City is a surreal modern metropolis rising proudly in the middle of the deep green ocean of the vast Amazon rainforest. The fascination of this city lies in its ambitious history, when the rubber boom in the 19th century transformed it into one of the most luxurious symbols in South America. To display their wealth, the elite transported Italian marble and French ironwork across more than 4,350 miles of difficult forest and river routes to build the magnificent Teatro Amazonas, an architectural masterpiece standing in striking contrast within the heart of the jungle. But the soul of Manaus is not shaped only by human ambition. This place also holds a mesmerizing highlight known as the Meeting of the Waters, where the dark black Rio Negro and the muddy Solimões River flow side by side, yet firmly refuse to mix together. The meeting of these two extremes creates a stunning visual wonder, a water boundary so clear that it challenged every explanation offered by. It is from those mysterious waters that our journey of discovery truly begins. Leaving behind the bustle of Manaus, the journey takes us to Alto do Chão, a place often called a miraculous Caribbean strip in the heart of the vast Amazon. This is a real mirage, a paradise of pure white sand rising proudly beside the crystal-clear waters of the Tapajós River. What astonishes visitors most is that despite having the burning beauty of the sea, the water here is completely fresh. You can immerse yourself in it all day without tasting even a trace of salt. The symbol of this place is Love Island, an island with a mysterious disappearing act. It does not exist all year round. During the high water season, the island vanishes completely, giving way to surreal flooded forests. Only when the dry season arrives does the sandbar slowly reappear from the riverbed like a miracle. Unlike the violent presence of the heavy red silt rivers, Alto do Chão holds a spirit so calm and pure that it feels unreal. Here, the water is not just a current, but a giant mirror reflecting the brilliant tropical sky and turning this place into a silent cathedral of nature. Today, the Amazon rainforest is still struggling to hold on to its green heart. The once unbroken stretches of deep green forest are now marked by scattered dry scars left behind by human hands. The sound of chainsaws still rises coldly from valleys that should hold nothing but bird song and the wind. Fires started by people have pushed massive amounts of emissions back into the sky, undoing what the forest has spent thousands of years storing and purifying. And yet, the Amazon has never given up. Rain still falls steadily onto the canopy and then rises again as clouds, sustaining a relentless cycle of life. The Amazon is fighting to save itself, for us and for the future. Among the dry leaves and the heated ground of the Amazon, the tarantula hawk wasp appears like a living warning sign that very few creatures dare approach. Its metallic blue-black body combined with its bright orange wings looks like a clear message to enemies that this is a highly venomous species and should not be touched. The sting of this wasp, ranked just below the bullet ant, brings pain that strikes instantly and so violently that it can cause the victim to lose control. But what makes it truly terrifying lies in its ability to hunt tarantulas, because it can detect its prey even when it is hiding deep underground. Its spiny and hooked legs help it lock tightly onto the spider's hairy body during that brief but decisive battle. Even more strangely, this wasp is also very fond of nectar and fermented fruit, sometimes flying unsteadily as if drunk after overeating.